Well, so far this year, we've had surprising resilience of economic growth. In fact, growth actually accelerating. So a lot of forecasters revising up their expectations. We've got a forecast of 2.6% global GDP growth, which is a little bit above the 2.4 consensus. We've recently revised that higher a little on the back of a stronger start to the year than we'd been anticipating. So we here at S&P Global, we produce the Purchasing Managers Index, a PMI economic indicator. And we track this around the world, 28,000 companies feeding data into it, and they've been increasingly positive in recent months. So the index hit a low back in October and has since risen consistently, signalling accelerating economic growth. So recession worries that we had late last year have faded into the background now, even in Europe. And we've seen official data start to catch up with these surveys, like GDP in the Eurozone is back on the increase again. The US is showing the resilience we saw. We've seen growth pick up in the likes of Japan, and in Asia, growth reviving. So all in all, the picture so far is one of a year that started better than many had anticipated, yet the risks to that outlook are more elevated perhaps than we've ever had before, most notably surrounding the conflicts and the geopolitics around the world. So if nothing gets any worse from that geopolitical perspective, then we should be seeing this growth forecast materialise of a nice pace of economic expansion. But as I say, the risks to that are really quite elevated at the moment. Yeah, so supply chains, clearly it's been a big issue since the pandemic, when we had the big supply chain shock that led to the big inflation upsurge that we're still feeling the tail end of now. So it's very much front of mind, the fact that any further escalation of any supply chain tensions can lead to another upturn in inflation and set back the whole interest rate projections. So far this year, we did see an impact in January of the Red Sea disruptions. That led to a lengthening of global supply chains, so an echo of that pandemic era, but a much more muted echo than we'd seen at the height of COVID. But encouragingly, we really only had 1 month of those disruptions, and since then, supply chains have started to settle down again as the whole transport system supply chains have got working to a new normal, whereby you basically go around Africa. It takes another week or so, but you're still getting one delivery a week into the factories that need it, for example. The implications of that, though, are that whereas before the Red Sea impact, you had about 6% spare capacity in the global supply chains through the ships and so forth, that's now been used up. So any further delays that might be incurred, or conflicts or disruptions, that's going to cause immediate problems into supply chain delivery times, which will have an impact straight through on inflation. So there's no buffer now, if you like, in the global supply chain. So this is what we're alert to at the moment, and hence why the possibility of escalated conflict in the Middle East is really worrying people about the inflation aspect from that. Let's say at the moment it's muted, but it is there, and we saw with the April PMIs that we published, the early flash numbers, that you've got some inflation signs appearing now in the manufacturing sector. So we're still in this situation where services are driving the main stickiness of inflation, but with manufacturing starting to see some price gains as well, it's ringing some alarm bells that maybe this inflation problem hasn't quite gone away yet.